Part 48. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 493. ICU. After Qin Mei's surgery on the first day, Huang Li and Qin's mother stayed to take care of her. When Zhou Shanping left, Wang Feng and Qin Sheng followed her out to see her off. Afterwards, the couple discussed it, and Wang Feng returned to the ward. Seeing her coming in, Qin's mother sighed secretly and whispered, "Feng you go back and rest. I will take care of your sister tonight, and you can come back tomorrow night." Wang Feng was a little moved, but thinking of Qin Sheng's words, she didn't dare to leave just like that, so she said, "Mom, you have to go to work tomorrow, can you stay up all night?" "Okay, I can do it." Qin's mother smiled and nodded, "I'm in good health. I stayed up for 1 or 2 nights, so there's nothing wrong with me." Wang Feng followed suit, "Mom is so close to my eldest sister, I guess I won't be able to sleep even when I go back, so it will be hard on my mother. I will come over to take over for you early tomorrow morning." "Okay, you can go back." Qin's mother waved her hand, hoping that she would leave quickly. The daughter-in-law here is really worried. If she stays here, she will cause trouble for her. Huang Li has been taking care of Qin Mei with Wang Feng these days. She has a disdain for Wang Feng's temper and character. However, Qin's mother is Wang Feng's mother-in-law. No matter how dissatisfied she is with Wang Feng, it's hard to say anything. The mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, while muttering under her breath, she deliberately carried a basin to the water room. She waited for Wang Feng to leave before she came back with the basin. Mother Qin knew that she was deliberately avoiding it, so she smiled at her sheepishly. "Xiao Huang, you have worked hard these days. I know that although Wang Feng is here, but it's all your fault to take care of Xiaomei." "That's right. Director Zhou trusted me and sent me to complete this task. Of course I will do my best." As Huang Li spoke, she neatly twisted the warm towel and stepped forward. "Give Qin Mei a gentle rub on her feet." Song Xiao warned, "When nothing happens, you can apply more hot compresses and rub more on the patient's hands and feet to promote blood circulation and help the patient recover faster." Looking at Huang Li, who took good care of her daughter, Qin's mother couldn't hide the gratitude in her eyes. She was not a sweet talker, she just kept mumbling and didn't know what to say. Huang Li saw her intention and smiled and said, "Auntie, you should not be grateful to me. You should be grateful to the leaders of our unit. They arranged all of this." "Yes, yes." Qin's mother responded repeatedly, "I want to thank the neighbors, and I also want to thank you, Xiao Huang. If my daughter-in-law is really here, how can I rest assured?" Haha. It was not convenient to comment on this, so Huang Li answered with a dry laugh. Just in time for early summer. Seeing the two people laughing at each other, he asked curiously, "What are you doing?" "Dr. Xiaolin, okay." Qin's mother was so excited that she felt at a loss when Zhou Shanping went to Qin's house. There was a meeting in early summer, and Qin's mother also knew that it was Dr. Xiaolin who discovered her daughter's condition first. She was really grateful to Chu Xia, even more than she was to Zhou Shanping. In her opinion, leaders who care about their employees deserve to be grateful, but the nobleman who saved his daughter's life deserved even more gratitude. Therefore, every time she saw Chu Xia, she was so excited that she was incoherent. "Auntie, we can rest assured that you are here tonight. The first night is the most difficult. When the patient wakes up later, it will be very painful. As for you, talk to her more and distract her energy. If she really can't bear the pain, you can ask us to give her an analgesic injection. But in principle, it's best not to give her an analgesic injection as long as she can bear it." What will happen?" Qin's mother asked worriedly. "All medicines are poisonous. Sister Qin is young and has good health. Being able to use less medicine will be good for her recovery and physical condition. Furthermore, At Sister Chin's age, getting married and having children may be something that will soon be on the agenda. For the sake of the child, it would be better to use less painkillers. Chu Xia explained simply. Chin's mother's face turned pale with fright. If I get beaten, will I not be able to have children? No, it's best not to have a baby in a short period of time. Of course, after such an operation, you can't have a baby within half a year. By then, the toxicity of the needle will be gone. There is another reason why you cannot take analgesic injections. If there are other complications, stopping the pain will cover up the truth and delay the treatment. Therefore, we do not recommend using strong analgesic injections unless it is a last resort. Auntie, let me explain it this way, do you understand? I understand, Mother Chin nodded repeatedly. Dr. Xiaolin, you have such a good attitude. When I went to the hospital for injections before, the doctors and nurses didn't like to talk to us, and I didn't even dare to ask. Haha. Nowadays, many doctors and nurses do have this problem. Chu Xia didn't like the introduction, so he smiled and changed the subject. Auntie, are you asking for leave these days? Chin's mother smiled unnaturally. It's okay, I'm in good health, it doesn't matter how many days I stay up. Besides, Xiao Huang can still work shifts with me, so he won't be tired. After waiting for 3 days, Xiao Mei could eat, so I asked Wang Feng and me to work in reverse. Xiao Huang was the one who had the hardest time. She took care of her professionally and carefully. Dr. Xiaolin, you and Director Zhou are really our family. Great benefactor. Chu Xia smiled and waved her hand. Auntie, don't always be so polite. However, it might not be appropriate for you to take care of the patient while you are at work. Of course, we will not interfere in this matter. However, the patient's recovery in the past 3 days has been very good. It's important, and it's also very hard to take care of. You'd better take a few days off, or arrange for someone else to stay with you. While she was talking, she had already recorded all the instrument data. After checking it again, she smiled at Chin's mother and said, come forward and say that Sister Chin's performance is very good. Auntie, you don't have to worry too much. Yes, yes. Mother Chin responded with a look of helplessness. She also wanted to take leave to take care of her daughter, but her son had already said that Wang Feng had already taken leave, so she was not allowed to take leave. With just such a son, she and her husband depended entirely on him for their retirement. If they really offended their son, what would they do in the future? However, if her daughter's health does not recover well, it will take a lifetime. She really does not dare to leave Wang Feng alone now. If her daughter suffers from sequelae because of Wang Feng's poor care, she will live with regrets for the rest of her life. After thinking about it, she can only make herself work harder, neither offending her son nor treating her badly. Daughter. This is a family matter, and Chu Xia will naturally not interfere with it. She has done her best, and she has no right to interfere with how the family members want to operate. However, it is fortunate that people in this era are responsible. Otherwise, Huang Li would definitely go on strike. Why should she, an outsider, take care of the patient day and night, while the patient's real relatives are leaving behind 10? Are you watching the fun with your big finger? After Chu Xia took the data back and showed it to Song Xiao nodded with a smile. Yes, the operation was indeed very successful. Chu Xia, you have done a lot of credit. Chu Xia smiled sheepishly. Teacher, are you making me happy? How can the teacher make you happy? You are the second assistant. When it comes to suturing, you have taken away the work of the first assistant. Do you think you have the greatest credit? Song Xiao said and looked at Wang Jing. Senior sister, I praise her. Your little junior sister, are you feeling sad? Teacher, am I so petty in your mind? Wang Jing raised her hand in protest. Don't judge people by the old almanac. I have fully realized my shortcomings now and am gradually improving. Song Xiao picked on her, why is it gradually and not immediately? Wang Jing smiled sheepishly, in my own opinion, it's immediate, but there are some problems that I can't discover at once. In the eyes of others, isn't it just a step-by-step process? It's useful. Song Xiao glanced at the time. You two should discuss among yourselves who will be on duty in the first half of the night and who will be in the second half of the night, so as not to have to stay up together. Then he walked out and said, I'll go to the dean's place to see. I heard that it's been confirmed that experts from Beijing will come to our hospital for consultation. Let's see if I can let you guys take advantage of it. Wang Jing hurriedly said, Teacher, I'll just follow you. I don't want to take advantage of you. Me too. Chu Xia raised her hand solemnly, I feel very comfortable studying with you, and I definitely don't want to change teachers. Don't waste your time, you two. This is a rare opportunity. Moreover, you are only studying with the experts for a period of time. When the experts return, you will still have to come back to me. If you want to get rid of me, there is no way. No. After the words fell, the person disappeared outside the door. Chu Xia and Wang Jing looked at each other and smiled helplessly. The more familiar they got with each other as a teacher, the more childish they became. However, the teacher also really thinks about them. If he is selfish, he should be particularly afraid that his assistant will be picked away. If he uses a familiar assistant and suddenly leaves him, it will increase a lot of workload. The two of them were sitting there chatting when Zhou Mixang came. Chu Xia had expected him to come for a long time and was naturally not surprised by his appearance. However, when she saw Lin Wenbin standing side by side with him and never falling behind, she turned her head. The black line is just to work the night shift, isn't that about it? Brother, aren't you going back to the capital tomorrow? If you don't have a good rest at home, why are you here? In early summer, when I see your brother Xiaomi, do you think I'm an eyesore? Lin Wenbin looked hurt. I think I'm going back to the capital tomorrow, so I came here specifically to accompany you today. I didn't expect that I would be so annoying. It's disgusting, it's too sentimental, it hurts your self-esteem. After talking about it for a long time, Chu Xia just stared at him and smiled without saying a word. He couldn't continue acting and stared at her dissatisfied. Are you really hoping that brother will hurry up? Let's go so that you and your brother Xiaomi can be affectionate and warm together. Yes, Chu Xia nodded with a smile. Brother, can you go back now? Unexpectedly, Chu Xia would answer like this. Lin Wenbin was stunned and sat down on the chair shamelessly. I won't leave, I will stay here, I will be a light bulb, and I won't let you get intimate. It's up to you, Chu Xia said with a funny face. You can just sit here if you're tired. Anyway, I don't care. I can go home and sleep tomorrow. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 494. It's so heartless. It's so heartless. The women's university cannot be admitted. It really is unreasonable. Chu Xia hilariously interrupted Lin Wenbin, who kept chattering, Brother, I'm married. Lin Wenbin was stunned for a while, lying on the table slumped. Forget it, I'd better not transfer over. What's the point of being sentimental? You also know that this is just being sentimental, right? Zhou Mikang looked at him with a smile. You can get along well with me, but if you insist on being superior to me, you are just looking for trouble. I'm not talking to you. Lin Wenbin glared at him. Stand aside. Brother, what kind of monster are you making? Chu Xia looked him up and down. Lost in love? Or was your courtship rejected? Or, the person you like is getting married, and the groom is not you? Go, go, go. Lin Wenbin pushed her angrily. Your brother, I have a jade tree in the wind. Will the situations you mentioned happen to me? Let me tell you, if your brother is willing, he will find you a sister-in-law. That's a matter of minutes. I see it clearly. When Joe Mixang doesn't come back, you still have me as your brother in your eyes. Once he comes back, you won't be able to see anyone anymore. You can't hurt your married daughter. It doesn't hurt. Pook. Bystander Wang Jing burst out laughing. Seeing Lin Wenbin turn his eyes to her, her face turned red. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at you, I just think what you said is quite interesting. You don't have a boyfriend yet, do you? No. Wang Jing blushed and lowered her head, showing her shyness as a girl. I think so. If I have a boyfriend, I probably won't find what I say interesting. A girl who has her own heart can't see the advantages of other men. Lin Wenbin glanced sideways at Chu Xia as he spoke. Isn't there a clear example right in front of me? Chu Xia looked at him with a funny face. Brother. Can I understand that you are jealous? Yes. Lin Wenbin nodded bachelorly. You are my only sister and the most important in my heart, but I am not important in your heart at all. Can I not be jealous? Zhou Mikang sat next to him and put his hand on his shoulder. Brother, I want to ask you, how did you live before you found Shuxia? How you live is how I live. Zhou Mikang was stunned. He understood what Lin Wenbin meant. The person with whom he had the closest relationship was his little sister. After her little sister left, all he could think about was work, and family affection and love completely disappeared from his life. As for friendship, although it did not disappear, I also drifted apart from most of my friends. The few remaining friends can be considered true buddies. In other words, the only gain from those years was that he learned clearly who was trustworthy and who was not. Fate is really a wonderful thing. After meeting Chu Xia, I was attracted first by her personality and then by her appearance. In the end, he was attracted by her talent. He didn't even know when this girl became the most important person in his heart. But how could Lin Wenbin be like him? Did you also have a sister who died in childhood? Zhou Mikang stared at Lin Wenbin and asked in confusion. No. Then why does it feel the same as mine? I first noticed Chu Xia because I thought she was very similar to my little sister who passed away. Of course, I soon learned that she and Xiaoreo were completely different, so we together, I have nothing to do with my little sister. Zhou Mikang explained a few more words as if he was afraid of causing Chu Xia's misunderstanding. I don't have a sister, but I once had a sister who was 2 years older than me. When I was 8 years old, she fell ill and passed away. Although she was a sister, because of her poor health, I was always taking care of her. Her departure made me sad for a long time. Later, I have been hoping that my parents can give me another sister. Unfortunately, I have never been able to do so. The appearance of Chu Xia completely satisfied my wish to have a sister. Zhou Mikang, even if I get married, my wife will never have a higher position in my heart than my sister. There are a wide range of wives to choose from, but there is only one sister. She is the only one. Brother, don't scare me. Chu Xia shrank her neck unconsciously. Listening to what you said, I feel so stressed. If my future sister-in-law knows your thoughts, she will eat me. How dare she? Lin Wenbin stared. If she dares to treat my sister badly, I will divorce her. Brother, you are putting more pressure on me. Chu Xia pointed at Zhou Mikang. Are you telling him not to be too nice to me in the future? If I dare to offend his sisters, he can divorce me immediately. That's not okay. He has so many sisters, but his wife is the only one. If he dares to treat you badly, I don't need to divorce you. I will divorce him first, and I will find a better one for you, Lin Wenbin said and glared. He glanced at Zhou Mikang and said, I'm not joking. If you dare to treat my sister badly, I'll kill you. Zhou Mikang had a black streak on his head. First of all, let me declare that in my heart, Chu Xia is the only one. I thought so originally, and I will not change it now or in the future. Now instead of talking about my problems, Let's talk about you. What do you call double standards? When I come to your place, my wife is not as good as my sister. When I come to my place, my sister is not as good as my wife. You have been explaining for a long time, but I still don't understand why you are so interested in my family Josei. Well, you have to talk to me about this matter, otherwise, I won't be able to worry about it when I go to the army. Who knows what you are thinking about? Josei and you don't have much interaction, how could you possibly do you love her to this extent? Are you jealous? Lin Wenbin smiled proudly. Jo Mikang is so worthless that you are jealous of your uncle. Jo Mikang pressed her hand harder on his shoulder. Being jealous of your brother-in-law is a promising thing. Hey! Taking a breath of cold air, Lin Wenbin pulled his hand down with force and pushed him in disgust. Stay away from me, I don't want to see you. Why don't you like to see me? Do you not know how to answer my question? Jo Mikang couldn't let him go so easily, so he pursued him and asked. Lin Wenbin spread his hands indifferently, believe it or not, anyway. It was only after my wish of more than 10 years came true that I was so kind to Josei. You will probably never understand my feelings. The entire Lin family. Except for Josei, only my aunt is a girl. You don't know how much our Lin family is looking forward to having a girl. Let me tell you, from now on, not only me, but the entire Lin family will treat Josei as their treasure. Don't say that Josei married into the Zhou family because of the Zhou family's glory. Our Lin family has everything the Zhou family can give her, but, the second uncle and second aunt were a bit stubborn, and the grandparents didn't want to force them, so they allowed them to leave based on their temper. Otherwise, I would definitely let my second uncle and second aunt stay in the capital to develop. Even if they have little experience, with the help of my grandparents and my dad, they will definitely be able to live a prosperous life. I have never felt that Josei was taking advantage of me by marrying me. I am her husband, and it is my responsibility and obligation to honor my father-in-law and mother-in-law. No matter whether they are from the Lin family in Beijing or not, my attitude towards them has always been as one. I respected them before and I still respect them now, but you remember. In my dictionary, Jo Mikang, there is no such thing as seeking favors for profit. That's good. Your worries are too much. Listening to the heated conversation between the two men, Josei looked helpless. She could understand the mood of both of them. Lin Wenbin was kind to her. There are reasons he said himself, and there are also reasons why the entire Dalin family feels guilty towards the Erlin family. So, it doesn't matter whether she marries well or not. Whether they were living well or not, as long as they found them, the Dalin family would dutifully support the descendants of the Erlin family. She could see this from the first time they met. At first, she also doubted whether the Dalin family would accept them so easily and treat them so wholeheartedly if she had not married into the Zhou family. But after spending a few days at the Lin family in Beijing, she had no doubt about it. There was definitely a gap between disguise and reality for some things. She believed in her own eyes and her own feelings. As for Jo Mikang's rejection of the Dalin family's help, she could understand it. When he married her, he didn't think about getting any benefits from her, and he definitely didn't want to destroy this feeling now. In other words, Jo Mikang is not a person who chooses marriage for benefits. Therefore, what he is most taboo about is others saying that he uses marriage for benefits. Lin Wenbin didn't understand Jo Mixang, and he stabbed him repeatedly to protect her. She couldn't say anything wrong with Lin Wenbin, but what Lin Wenbin did today would definitely leave obstacles for the future cooperation between the Zhou and Lin families. She couldn't say anything in front of the two of them. She could only find a chance to talk to Lin Wenbin in the future. She knew that he sincerely regarded her as his closest sister and sincerely protected her. However, Jo Mikang, this is really not a good approach to his character. Of course, She also had to talk to Zhou Mikang and let him understand that Lin Wenbin was so protective of her only because he had heard too many unfair comments about her. After recognizing her, he wanted to give her the greatest support. While she was thinking about it, the two men had already withdrawn their troops, turned their hostility into friendship, and started talking enthusiastically about the topic of military affairs between men. There was a dark streak in early summer. It was because she didn't understand men and was worried blindly. Looking at the two of them like this, it seemed that they could gradually become close friends without her persuasion. Wang Jing whispered in her ear, "You are so lucky. Your husband and your brother both value you so much. You will also meet a man who pays special attention to you." Chu Xia winked at her, "Otherwise, you are starting to miss spring. Could it be that you have a crush on my brother? I am self-aware and will never overestimate my capabilities again." Wang Jing smiled and shook her head, "A man like your brother is good, but he will never belong to a girl from a family like mine. And I can tell that he has no interest in me at all. Also, I am too ordinary, how could I catch his eye?" Wu Jingbo, pretty much the same. Chu Xia looked at her funny, "Why did you blame Wu Jingbo? There's something about her." Wang Jing said after thinking for a while, "There's something very majestic about her. A kid from a family like your brother should like a girl like that." "Ha ha." Chu Xia laughed, "Senior sister is really different. If she had been in the past, she would not have said such words. She recognizes the advantages of others. People always have to make progress." "Do you think my progress is all about words?" Wang Jing said in a lower voice. "You think I'm stupid, I've seen it a long time ago. Wu Jingbo also likes Director Jing, but she hides it better than me. I guess she felt quite uncomfortable after knowing that Director Jing had a fiancé. Don't tell me you don't know, I don't believe you." "I really don't know." Chu Xia looked at her in surprise, "Before you said it, I never thought about it. I just know that I like her after all." "Well, I can tell that I like her. Otherwise, Li Ziru wouldn't have left quietly. Girls have the keenest sense in this regard. Just like me, although I'm not as smart as you, but it's about my relationship. I can see it more clearly than you. I believe that when it comes to Zhou Mikang, your feelings will be particularly keen. I'm really not keen on him. I've known about him and Yamiru for a long time, so I don't need to be sharp. As for others, I haven't discovered it yet. He is too good. How can ordinary girls like him without knowing their own abilities? So, I guess, your worries will be in the future, when you come into contact with more and more people in their circle, I have found that many people will be inexplicably hostile to you, and I guarantee 100% that the woman who is hostile to you is definitely the woman who likes Captain Zhou." Chu Xia looked at her funny, "Senior sister, how many times have you been in love?" "Not once." Wang Jing glared at her dissatisfied, "Having never been in love doesn't mean I don't understand feelings. I'm just the unlucky one. The man I like all the time doesn't like me. So." She spread her hands and sighed, expressing her helplessness. Chu Xia kindly stopped teasing her and changed the topic. Song Xiao pushed the door open and came in. She was stunned for a moment, and then laughed dumbly, "I thought I was in the wrong place. Are you on night shift or are you having a tea party?" When she said this, several people glanced at the snacks and tea on the table and laughed sheepishly. In order to cover up their embarrassment, Chu Xia asked, "Teacher, have you heard the results?" "Yes." Song Xiao glanced at Zhou Mixang and said, "Lin Chuxia, congratulations, you are the chosen one." "Me?" Chu Xia pointed to her nose, "I've only been here for such a short time, how could it be me? Your performance during this period has been outstanding. You have been deified in rumors. What's so strange about being selected?" Song Xiao continued after drinking water, "Moreover, it was the expert who personally named you to be his assistant." "The expert personally called my name?" Chu Xia looked confused, I really didn't know that I was so famous. Yeah, Dean Su was quite surprised when he received the facts from the other party. Although your performance is remarkable, there is still a big gap between you and the really skilled interns in the hospital. I didn't expect that. The expert personally called your name and wanted to take you, Song Xiao said and sighed. Mr. Liang is famous for his eccentric personality. Early summer, you must be mentally prepared. Teacher, has this matter changed? Chu Xia said with a bitter face. I am still willing to stay with you. Although I can come back after he leaves, but this will interrupt the schedule, and I really don't want to. It's been moved around all day long. Song Xiao shook her head. There is no change. If it is changed, he probably won't come. This is a good opportunity for our hospital. If you push it, you will probably become the public enemy of all the medical staff in this hospital. I'm really sweet, Chu Xia said and slapped her forehead fiercely. Zhou Mikang, aren't you very familiar with Mr. Liang? Did you say hello? No, Zhou Mikang shook his head affirmatively. I once begged him to apply for an admission letter for you, but I knew his character, so I didn't mention letting you be his student. Moreover, even if I mentioned it, it would be useless. You were admitted because your previous grades were qualified. Anyway, you are a teacher for 100 students, and you are also a teacher for 101 students. Recruiting a disciple is a completely different matter. There are very few children studying medicine in the circle who don't want to be his student, but it's useless for anyone to give advice. The old man is very particular about it. I'm quite surprised that he asked you to be his assistant by name this time. Forget it, I'll call him now and find out what's going on. Otherwise, I won't even be able to leave. Rest assured. Use me to call you. Song Xiao stepped aside and said, this phone can be used for outside calls. Zhou Mikang was not polite and stepped forward to dial the switchboard. After many transfers, I finally got on the phone with Mr. Liang. After a few polite words, he asked the other party straight to the point. Is there any special reason for choosing Chu Xia as an assistant? In the end, the old man only replied that it had nothing to do with him, and then hung up the phone with a bang. Knowing the old man's temper, Zhou Mixang sighed helplessly. He doesn't want to say it. If you continue to ask questions, it will only annoy him. In early summer, when he comes, be careful, and if you really can't handle it, just ask for leave and go home to rest for a while. Is it that scary? Chu Xia looked at him doubtfully. Then he looked at Song Xiao. I'm just an assistant. He can still eat me. Why are you all so serious? I hope we have overthought it. It will depend on the situation. After thinking about it, Song Xiao said, maybe it was because of your acupuncture technique that he was interested. Mr. Liang's skills. It is definitely ours. Looking up, if the acupuncture really got into his eyes, the teacher can only be happy for you. I hope so. Zhou Mikang looked at Chu Xia with a worried look. Remember what I said. If you don't feel comfortable with it, ask for leave first. The worst is, we won't be doctors anymore. Brother. Why don't you speak? Chu Xia looked at Lin Wenbin with his head down and said nothing in confusion. This was so unlike him. I'm thinking of countermeasures. Lin Wenbin smiled bitterly. Didn't I say that I had a sister above me who died of illness? My sister's attending doctor at that time was Mr. Liang. Because of his sister's death, his parents were resentful towards Mr. Liang. His grandparents were not very polite to him, not to mention his sister-in-law. She had a good relationship with her sister and even came to Liang's house and smashed the windows of his house. I was wondering just now, could it be that he already knew about your relationship with the Lin family in Beijing, so he deliberately asked you to be his assistant, just to get that bad breath out of you? After thinking about it, Chu Xia asked, did he delay treatment back then? No. Then why do you hate him? If Lin Wenbin bit his lip, if he could have appeared 30 minutes earlier on the day my sister's condition worsened, or the anniversary of my sister's death would have been postponed for a long time. At that time, we didn't understand it, but when we found out later, it had been a long time and we didn't have the courage to apologize. After a long pause, he continued, the death anniversary of Mr. Liang's wife and my sister's death are the same day. Ah, Chu Xia stared at him blankly for a while, then sighed. There was really nothing to say about this matter. Which doctor could leave his wife alone and save the patient when she was dying? Wang Jing answered, when the soldiers come, the water will be blocked and the soil will be flooded. Didn't you all advise me to be more liberal before? But now it hasn't happened yet, why are you so worried? I think that with Mr. Liang's prestige, he would not do what Brother Lin suspected. Or maybe he wants to use this incident to resolve the conflict with the Lin family. Song Xiao nodded, I think Wang Jing's guess is very likely. Okay, everyone, stop guessing. Xiaomi, don't worry about it when you go on a mission. I'm here and I won't let Chu Xia be wronged. Thank you. Aunt Song. Zhou Mikang hesitated and said, however, Aunt Song, you probably can't protect Chu Xia. After Mr. Liang comes, you can't follow him every day. Okay, don't worry about it blindly. I sound like an idiot with no ability to survive. No matter what the reason is, let me handle this matter myself, okay? Don't worry, I will do my best. If I feel that I can't handle it, I will ask for help. My grandparents, my parents, and Grandpa Wan are all here. What's there to worry about? Why have I been left behind? Lin Wenbin protested unhappily. Brother, didn't you just say that the Lin family and Mr. Liang have some issues? Chu Xia stared at him speechlessly. Can you analyze the reasons for being jealous before you eat? Are you kidding me? Are you serious? Lin Wenbin said with a smile on his face. I just want you to know that when you ask for help in the future, don't forget the Lin family. No matter whether we can really help or not, you have to take care of the Lin family, treat it as your own natal family. I know, Chu Xia solemnly assured him, if anything happens in the future, I will remember to ask my parents' family for help, as long as my brother and the elders in the family don't find it annoying. It's not annoying, it's not annoying. Lin Wenbin smiled so hard, I'm going to tell Grandpa this, he will definitely be happy. After saying that, he actually dialed the phone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 495. Brother. Chu Xia grabbed Lin Wenbin's arm anxiously, it's so late, so don't bother Grandpa. You're wrong. Grandpa will only sleep better after receiving my call. Lin Wenbin looked at Chu Xia with a smile, you haven't realized your status in our family at all. Let's put it this way, if I fall into the river with you, Grandpa will definitely order everyone to save you but not me. Chu Xia rolled her eyes, if you can swim, of course you have to save me who can't swim first. If you can't swim but your physical strength is better than mine, of course you have to save me first. Lin Wenbin looked serious, what I mean is that if the conditions are equal and one of us must die, it must be sacrificed for me rather than for you. Brother. Chu Xia looked at him blankly and didn't know what to say. Even if he was supporting him, there was no need to say it so seriously, right? My grandparents have been guilty of what happened to them all my life. You are the descendant of the second grandfather and my grandmother. Of course they want to keep you, Lin Wenbin said and looked at Zhou Mikang, who was frowning in thought, treat my sister well. Otherwise, the Lin family will go bankrupt and it won't make things easier for you. What are you afraid of? Zhou Mikang stared at him with a serious look on his face, don't tell me that you just talked casually. You have emphasized it several times tonight, so if you have anything to say, just say it and don't play with it. It's a guessing game, I don't like it. Lin Wenbin stared at him for a while, with a smile on his lips. Then I'll tell you straight away, it's a private matter about you. Are you sure you want me to tell you now? Wang Jing stood up quickly. I'll go to the ward to take a look. Song Xiao also walked out. I'm with you. I'm going to. Chu Xia followed the two of them and walked out. Lin Wenbin grabbed her and said, Chu Xia, what I said has something to do with you, so you stay. Brother. There was a hint of anger in Chu Xia's eyes. I know you feel sorry for me, but brother. Is this really appropriate for you? I stayed tonight to accompany the teacher on the night shift, but as a result, the teacher and senior sister had to make room for me to handle personal matters. I want to be a qualified doctor, not just for fun. Brother, if you really regard me as your most beloved sister, then let me see your respect for me. Song Xiao, who had already arrived at the door, stopped and smoothed things over with a smile. Chu Xia. If Zhou Mikang hadn't left soon, your brother wouldn't have come to the office in such a hurry to deal with the matter between you. Don't think too much, the problem is solved. Everyone is relieved. Wang Jing and I went to check on Qin Mei's condition. You're on duty for the rest of the night. As he said this, he put pressure on Chu Xia's shoulders, turned around and strode away. Chu Xia, do you think I don't respect you? Lin Wenbin's eyes were vaguely hurt, thinking of how he always thought he was protecting himself. Chu Xia's heart softened and she sighed softly, brother, what I said was a bit harsh. But it's really hard for me to do this. I'm an intern, so I kicked out the teacher and senior sister. What's going on? Are you really angry with me because you're worried about this? Yes. Lin Wenbin's expression softened. I'm sorry, what I did was a little thoughtless. However, Zhou Mixang will leave the day after tomorrow. I'm afraid if I don't talk to him tonight, I won't have the chance for a while. Of course, we can wait until he comes back to talk, but that way, this matter will always be in my heart, and I don't want any accidents to happen. Zhou Mikang looked at him seriously, asked, I will answer truthfully. Lin Wenbin's face became tense. Huang Sui came to see you yesterday. You met him and stayed alone in the room for an hour and a half. Is that why? Zhou Mikang laughed dumbly. Are you suspecting that I am unfaithful to Chu Xia? Lin Wenbin said with gleaming eyes, can't I be suspicious like this? You said that in your eyes, Chu Xia is the most outstanding girl, right? Right. If you really think so, you shouldn't ask me this question. This is a fallacy. Lin Wenbin glared at Zhou Mikang hatefully. Chu Xia is the best girl in my heart, but what about you? Besides, the Huang family had the idea of marrying Huang Sui to you in the past. Now, who knows about this idea? If it were someone else's family, I wouldn't have to worry about it, but for the Huang family, I can't help but think too much. I know that you will be angry when I say this and feel that I am insulting you. But Zhou Mikang, as Chu Xia's natal family member, what I need is your most honest answer. Our Lin family has seen Chu Xia's excellence, but Huang Sui's excellence has been seen by everyone in the circle, so you should understand my concerns. Of course, I also know that you will not abandon Chu Xia and marry Huang Sui, but my sister's feelings cannot tolerate a grain of sand, even if she appreciates other girls. Chu Xia turned her back and quietly wiped away her tears. She didn't expect that what Lin Wenbin wanted to question was actually this question. These are relatives. She knew that the Huang family wanted to marry Huang Sui to the Zhou family, so now she was also curious about the reason why Huang Sui met Zhou Mixang alone. After calming down, Chu Xia also turned her attention to Zhou Mixang, waiting for his answer. Chu Xia, do you feel uncomfortable after hearing this news? Zhou Mikang asked. I'm not uncomfortable, I'm just curious, Chu Xia said honestly. I'm curious why she came to you. If I had to guess, I would think it might be about Yamiru. Aren't you feeling uncomfortable at all? Zhou Mikang asked. Chu Xia's big eyes blinked. What, I'm not jealous, are you feeling a little uncomfortable? Puff. Lin Wenbin covered his mouth and waved at Zhou Mikang, who was staring at him with an unhappy expression. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Zhou Mikang was really looking forward to Chu Xia showing some jealousy just now. At the very least, it also represented his position in her heart, right? Not getting what he wanted, he no longer struggled with this issue. Huang Sui came to see me for business. In Chu Xia, I said I had something to talk to you about tonight, but it actually has something to do with this. Let's do it. I'll wait for Ansong and me later. Wang Jing is back, let's go to the car to talk. Okay, Chu Xia's expression became solemn. It seemed that the matter was quite important. Otherwise, Zhou Mikang wouldn't have to be so mysterious. Lin Wenbin waved his hands to the two of them. You go and talk in the car. I'll let them know when they're back. Can you really hold back your curiosity? Zhou Mikang looked at him funny. If you don't stand guard in front of me, aren't you worried that I will deceive Chu Xia? Lin Wenbin waved his hand proudly. She is already married to you. She has to solve some problems by herself. I will only help you with the general direction. Go ahead and stop being wordy here. Zhou Mikang. Why didn't you say at that time that she had to solve some problems by herself? This cheap uncle is really a character. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 496. Updated today. Tell me what is going on. Is it so hard to talk about it? It's not because you really want to divorce me and marry Huang Sui, right? Chu Xia stared at Zhou Mikang, who had been silent since getting in the car, and said jokingly. You know it can't be like that. Zhou Mikang hugged Chu Xia. I really want to be selfish and make a decision for you, but... He sighed quietly. I never thought that I, Zhou Mikang, would have this day. You are really a harmful little goblin. Be happy, okay. Chu Xia struggled to push him away. You know clearly that I don't like my mother-in-law's man. Do you sincerely want me to hate you? Zhou Mikang shook his head in a funny way. It's obviously your curiosity. Why do you find so many excuses? To be honest, are you as anxious as a cat scratching your head? Don't tell me I'm back on duty. Chu Xia was about to open the door and get out of the car due to her injuries. Zhou Mikang grabbed her. Okay, just be curious if you're curious. What's the big deal if you admit it? I won't laugh at you. You know I'm curious, but you still want to tease me. Chu Xia curled her lips contemptuously. Do you think it's particularly fun to tease me? Haha. Zhou Mixang looked at her narrowly. What would you do if I didn't hold you back? What else can I do? Chu Xia rolled her eyes. I must be pretending to take a few steps, then come back and ask you to tell me the truth. Face, you have to fight for it, no matter who you fight in front of. It's hard for me to fight for face in front of you. It's not worth it. Don't blame me for not making a move in advance, today's move. Sooner or later I have to pay it back. Okay, you can come back. I will definitely not complain at all. Zhou Mikang looked serious and got to the point. You also know that war is inevitable. This group of medical staff was specially recruited to prepare for a rainy day. Once war breaks out, this group of medical staff will be the first to go to the battlefield. There was a meeting yesterday and it was decided that Huang Sui would go to the district for on-the-spot inspection after the Chinese New Year, and that the pre-war medical team would set off there in the second half of the year. Huang Sui is in charge. In addition to selecting some skilled medical staff from outside the hospital, the members of the medical team also select some with relatively good qualifications from your group of students. In early summer, your performance during this period is obvious to all, so the members of the pre-war medical team must include you. I thought about letting you change careers, and I also thought about letting you go home to rest, but I know that no matter which method I use, it's all disrespectful to you. As a soldier, Of course my idea was unacceptable, but in early summer, I had already lost Xiaoreo. I don't want tragedy to happen again. The lack of you in the medical team will not affect the overall situation, but if our family is missing you. After sighing, Joe Mikang stopped talking. There was a long silence in the car. I thought about various possibilities in early summer. The only thing I didn't expect was that I learned the news without any psychological preparation. She was a little excited and a little confused. What is exciting is the fighting with real guns and cannons. The bloody battlefield, all of which can only be seen in movies. Did she really have the opportunity to visit it in person? What's confusing is that guns have no eyesight. Although the medical staff are some distance away from the front line, the risk factor is still quite high. If she has an accident, will her parents be able to bear it? There is also Joe Mikang, who seems to be such a strong person, but in fact, his heart is extremely soft, otherwise, he would not have been unable to get over after losing his sister for so many years. Such a man is affectionate but not sentimental. The girl he falls in love with will be the happiest woman in the world, but can he still bear the loss again? Or he can bear it, but can he stand up again and start a new family? Thinking about it, it is 10% impossible. In other words, if she leaves, there will be 3 people in this world who will live unhappy lives. Death, in fact, she was not very afraid. Because she traveled to this era, her understanding of death is nothing more than moving from one place to another, but what about the relatives who were left behind? When she left, she happened to be replaced by another girl. Well, if this was really possible, wouldn't the world be in chaos? Taking a step back, everything unreasonable happened, and she was so lucky that if she changed time and space, human emotions are not like computers. They would restart when they were told to restart, and delete when they were told to delete. If that were the case, she would become a psychosis. Of course, this is just the worst plan, or she just participated in the baptism of war and came back healthy and safe. But, she still couldn't help but think about the worst. As Joe Mikang said, retire or change your workplace. No, she has fallen in love with the profession of doctor. Of course, she can also stay at home for a few years, or choose to go to school. Avoid this war. However, people live in this world not just for themselves. If she really did this, who among the students with her would think highly of her? She didn't care about other people, such as Luo Xiaoxian, Lu Meijun, Wu Jingbo, Jun Daodu, Lin Mengran, Qiaoning Ii and even Yang Xiaoli. Faces passed by her eyes, thinking that one day, they would turn a blind eye to her. She couldn't stand it. Her sense of belonging to this era is because her relationship with her relatives is getting deeper and deeper, and she has these friends she can talk to. If she loses it, she will return to the feeling of this era again, that kind of loneliness and coldness. She no longer wants to bear it. Alas, Joe Mikang sighed heavily and stroked her head with his big hand. If the news hadn't been announced by the hospital soon, I wouldn't have wanted to tell you and embarrass you. I know that my attitude has affected you, and I also admit that I haven't come out of Xiaoreo's matter yet, so I can't watch you go to the front line calmly. However, I support your decision, but I have a request. When the war breaks out, you must be assigned to my regiment. I will apply for this, and you must agree to this condition. I promise. Chu Xia bit her lip. Joe Mikang, I'm not afraid of death, but I'm afraid of being separated from you. I'm afraid of leaving you behind. I'm afraid. Joe Mikang hugged her tightly. I know, I understand your mood, so I can feel relieved only if you are under my eyes. We are just thinking of the worst case scenario now. In fact, there is a 10% chance that nothing will happen. I was too selfish and made it difficult for you. Don't say that. I'm very touched that you care about me so much. Chu Xia sniffed. Besides, I also enjoy the feeling of being taken seriously by others. Joe Mikang, actually I'm not very nice to you. I always talk back to you, I like to force things with you, and I'm not gentle enough. It's really embarrassing that you're still so nice to me. After listening to the previous words, Joe Mikang was quite happy. When he heard the last sentence, he quickly blacked out. What does it mean to be too embarrassed? She is his wife, what is there to be embarrassed about? Dong dong dong. The two of them looked outside and saw Lin Wenbin standing outside the car. Joe Mikang quickly unlocked the car, opened the door, and let Lin Wenbin sit in. Looking at their faces, Lin Wenbin frowned. Why are you still crying? Joe Mikang, are you bullying my sister? Do you think I look like this? Joe Mikang looked at him speechlessly. Chu Xia is my wife, why should I bully her when I have nothing to do? Isn't your logic too weird? Then why is she crying? Can't it be touching? Lin Wenbin looked at Chu Xia. Tell me, did he bully you, or was he moved? Don't be afraid, I will support you. None of them. Chu Xia looked at Joe Mixang and saw that he nodded towards her, so she straightened out her thoughts and repeated the topic to Lin Wenbin. Originally, Chu Xia thought that after she finished speaking, Lin Wenbin would definitely jump up to object. She had even thought of using a coquettish way to deal with him. As a result, after hearing what she said, Lin Wenbin was silent for a while and then patted her seriously. Chu Xia, you are the pride of our Lin family. I believe you will come back safely. Chu Xia and Joe Mikang looked at him with wide eyes and surprise. What kind of looks? What kind of looks do you have? Lin Wenbin rolled his eyes dissatisfied. Is it possible that in your hearts, I am just that confused? Joe Mikang, you are unwilling to let Chu Xia go because the hurdle in your heart has not been overcome. It also shows that you regard Chu Xia as the most important person in your life. I am very happy about this. For me, Chu Xia is of course one of the most important people in life. However, in the past few days, I have also inquired about Chu Xia's affairs in the hospital. She is definitely the best among this group of students, and with her recent dazzling performance, if she retreats, she will never be able to enter this industry again in this life. I can clearly see her love for this industry. Whether she is a clerical worker, a housewife, or something else, she will have regrets in her life. I hope she lives a happy life. The meaning of life no longer depends on how old you live, but on whether you spend your whole life doing what you like and being with the people you like. I know that no matter what the probability is, there will be that eventuality, but I don't want to worry about it in vain. Why should I worry about something so far away from now? Besides, Joe Mikang, you are the one who has to worry the most. If you marry my sister, you can't let her become a widow one day. Otherwise, I will wipe my neck and go to you to settle the score. Joe Mikang nodded solemnly. Okay, I will listen to my uncle. Joe Mikang's attitude made Lin Wenbin uncomfortable. He was stunned and smiled sarcastically. You'd better not have such an attitude towards me. I'm a little uncomfortable with it. I will try my best to treat you this way in the future, and you will gradually get used to it. No, 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 Lin Wenbin waved his hands anxiously. If you wait until I get used to it and then change back, I'll be in trouble. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 497. You two should go back. Chu Xia looked at Joe Mikang and Lin Wenbin seriously. I am no longer a child, and I can't always let you help me walk. Okay, Joe Mikang responded while pushing Lin Wenbin. Shall we find a place to have a drink? Okay, Lin Wenbin agreed happily. In terms of skill, I am not as good as you, and in terms of drinking capacity, you probably can't catch up with me even if you try to flatter me. Joe Mikang looked at him carefully. If you say that, I really want to try it with you, but let's make an agreement first. No matter who is drunk, we are not allowed to hold grudges and make up for it next time. High five. Snapped. Seeing the childish behavior of the two men, Chu Xia curled her lips in disdain, waved at them, got out of the car and walked to the inpatient department. "I'll see you off," Zhou Mikang said, and chased after them. Lin Wenbin leaned back comfortably on the seat, with a smile in his eyes. He really loved his only little cousin. Although he felt that Zhou Mikang was not worthy of Chu Xia, he was still very happy to see him loving Chu Xia so much. Happy. However, when it was time to be rude, he would still be rude. Now that Zhou Mikang was about to leave, he would not be a light bulb for him. From now on, haha. After being sent to the corner of the second floor, Chu Xia refused to let Zhou Mikang go forward. "Go back, everyone is on night shift. I'm so special, how can I still, work here in the future?" "Where are those two?" Song Xiao and Wang Jing were surprised when they saw Chu Xia coming back alone. Of course it was Wang Jing who asked the question. "I'm back," Chu Xia smiled sheepishly. "It was my first time working the night shift, and they made a little fuss. You'll be fine once you get used to it." Wang Jing quickly explained, "I'm looking forward to having a late night snack with you. It seems that I can only go to the cafeteria. Just be satisfied if you can eat in the canteen." Song Xiao rolled her eyes at her. "Who said that before? My favorite thing is the food on the night shift." "Hee hee." Wang Jing smiled sheepishly. "People are always greedy. However, I have been able to sort out my position now. Just like I like Chu Xia's brother, but I know he can't see it. Me, so I will no longer fly upward like a moth to the flame like before." Chu Xia smiled and shook his head. "Brother, you like it? Cousin, you also like it? I wonder if you will also like it when you meet my cousin." "Your cousin?" Wang Jing's eyes lit up. "Are you good looking? What do you do?" "He's pretty good looking, and he's a soldier, but whatever you like or dislike won't be yours, because he's already engaged to Luo Xiaoxiang." Yes, Wang Jing suddenly patted her head. "I know this. I didn't know the number right away. By the way, I've met your cousin, and he's not bad. But he's not as good as your god brother, and your cousin is more in my eyes, so if it doesn't belong to me, it doesn't belong to me. There's no regrets. There are still a lot of problems." Chu Xia looked at her carefully and asked. "Senior sister, you didn't deliberately slander me because you couldn't get it, right? You're looking down on us, aren't you?" Wang Jing shook her head proudly. "Lin Chuxia, didn't I tell you that there are a lot of people chasing me, but I would rather be lacking than excessive?" Song Xiao interrupted the two of them. "Okay, stop bickering, Lin Chuxia, go to bed. Wang Jing will be responsible for the first half of the night, and you will be responsible for the second half of the night." "But I'm not sleepy now." Chu Xia looked at her with a troubled face. "How about I go to bed when I'm sleepy?" Song Xiao glanced at her lightly. "You can do whatever you want, as long as you can ensure that you are alert and make no mistakes when you are on duty in the second half of the night." "Then let me go to bed." Chu Xia walked out willfully, but within half an hour she came back again, with a twitching look on her face that looked like pain. At the head of the corridor, there were two medical lounges, one for men and one for women, each with 10 bunk beds. After opening the door and entering, she saw that they were very neat and tidy, but the treatment was cruel, so she had to leave. Wang Jing went to the ward, and Song Xiao was there. She raised her head and glanced at her, asking, "What's wrong?" "Teacher, the smell of feet and the sound of snoring have exceeded the limit of my tolerance. Otherwise, I will lie down on the table for a while." "Huh?" Song Xiao was stunned, turned around and walked out. Chu Xia quickly followed. "Teacher, I don't lie, what I say is true." Song Xiao stretched out her hand to stop her. "I know you don't lie. Just wait here. I'll be back soon." "Teacher, what are you doing?" Intuitively, Chu Xia felt that something was wrong. She grabbed Song Xiao and asked, "Is it because of the matter in the lounge?" Yes. Song Xiao frowned and replied, "I've seen the duty list tonight. There shouldn't be any doctors or nurses who don't care about cleanliness. I suspect that it was Lao Tao who changed the on-duty staff. His subordinate Lu Yanning, she is famous for her stinky feet and she snores and grinds her teeth while sleeping. I'm going to see if she's there. Okay, let's go take a look. Chu Xia originally wanted to forget it, but then she thought, if they really broke up like this, wouldn't it look like they were too easy to bully? If it was really aimed at her, no matter whether there was a fuss tonight or not, she had to have some idea in mind. Facts have proved that Song Xiao guessed correctly. It was Lu Yanning who was sleeping on the middle bed. Seeing her sleeping appearance clearly, Chu Xia didn't even have the desire to sleep. A girl, lying on the bed with her arms and legs spread out, breathing with her mouth wide open, grinding her teeth from time to time, her snoring only being interrupted when she grinds her teeth. This is indeed a big killer. Well, while Chu Xia was still admiring Lu Yanning's sleeping posture, Song Xiao had already rushed out of the dormitory, rushed to Director Tao's office, opened the door and walked in. She stared angrily at the middle-aged man behind the desk. Why did you replace Yu with Lu Yanning? Song Xiao, are you being too lenient? Director Tao pushed up his glasses and stared at Song Xiao displeased. You are the director of the first class, and I am the director of the third class. What qualifications do you have to question me? Why should you dictate the rotation of my doctors? As long as the work is done well, I can arrange whoever I want. You can arrange whoever you want to arrange for other people, but Lu Yanning has been discussed by everyone for a long time. It is best not to have her on the night shift. Why do you still put her on the night shift? If you say you didn't target my students intentionally, I wouldn't believe it even if you beat me to death. Tao Jianping, my students are so outstanding, you can't sit still, can you? Chu Xia found the door and happened to hear Song Xiao's question. She wiped her forehead secretly. Teacher, are you too honest? Even if they are really targeting us, can you be justified in saying this? Regardless of whether Lu Yanning can be on night duty, the other party only needs to say that the original night guard is in an emergency and cannot find anyone else to replace him temporarily, so he can only ask Lu Yanning. What can you say? Sure enough, when she was thinking about it, Tao Jianping inside said exactly what she thought. Then, her dear teacher was indeed speechless. With another sigh, she pushed open the door of Director Tao's office, stepped forward, picked up Song Xiao, and walked out. Hey, Director Tao pointed at Chu Xia angrily, who is that? Do you know how to be polite? Who are you? You didn't even knock on the door when you came in. Feeling that Song Xiao wanted to stop, Chu Xia tightened her hand a little more and whispered, don't pay attention to him. For such a person, the more you ignore him, the angrier he will be. The more you pay attention to him, the more he will stop. After a slight hesitation, Song Xiao followed Chu Xia out quietly. As expected, as soon as the two of them walked out of the door, they heard Tao Jianping's voice sharpen 5 degrees, and the sound of a water glass being smashed to the ground. Suffocate him to death. Chu Xia curled her lips. Teacher, you are too impatient. What kind of person wants what kind of treatment? If you reason with such a person, you are simply making trouble for yourself. Who taught you this? Song Xiao looked at Chu Xia in surprise. How could you see these things so clearly at such a young age? I have worked with Tao Jianping for so many years, and we have often been fooled by him. How do you understand his character and how to deal with him? Chu Xia touched her forehead. My dear teacher, I have known since I was assigned to your hands that Director Huang and Director Tao have been targeting you. They know each other well and will never be defeated. Therefore, I believe that I know them as well as you do. Don't worry. We will not take their anger in the future. We are willing to be angry. They can live alone. If they are playing yin, we will give them yin and play yang. Yes, do we need to be afraid? Okay, little Zudge, the teacher will listen to you from now on. Little Zudge, Chu Xia grinned and nodded with satisfaction. I like this title, it suits me well. Song Xiao. Kiss my little disciple, are the you before and you now really the same person? Is it? We couldn't stay in the lounge, so Chu Xia laid out a blanket on the floor inside. After thinking about it, he went to the dormitory to get a quilt and spread it over, so that it would be very comfortable to sleep on. Wang Jing sat down on the brand new floor with some novelty, and asked with a smile, you go to the dormitory to get the quilt, won't Luo Xiaoxiang and the others stop you and let you sleep in the dormitory? What do you think? Chu Xia asked. I think I should leave you to sleep in the dormitory, but in order to give me a place to rest, you forced yourself to come here holding the quilt. Very smart. Chu Xia gave her a thumbs up in appreciation. Senior sister, your perspective on thinking about problems is really different now than before. That's right, you can't always use the old almanac to judge people in the future. Wang Jing said and smiled, I found that after being with you for a long time, my skin is getting thicker and thicker. Thick skin is also an advantage. Chu Xia changed her tone and asked, how is Qin Mei? The anesthetic has just worn off and it hurts a little. She can still hold it in, but she won't know about it later. Wang Jing said and stood up, I'll go over and have a look. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 498. The anesthesia at the incision wore off, and the pain started as a tingling, then progressed to intermittent throbbing pain. Qin Mei tried her best not to make a sound, but her tears rolled down uncontrollably. Qin's mother looked at her daughter and felt terribly distressed. She rubbed her hands and talked to her about every detail of her childhood. Qin Mei's mind was gradually attracted. When Wang Jing came in, she happened to hear Qin's mother recalling the time when Qin Mei went to middle school, the little conflicts with her classmates, the seriousness of scores, which boy sent her daughter home. As she listened, Wang Jing's tears rolled down uncontrollably. If her mother were alive in the world, she would remember every bit of her life, right? The aunt loves her very much, but who can replace the mother's position in the heart of the child? Wiping away her tears and observing Qin Mei's expression, she quietly stepped back. She couldn't bear to interrupt such a warm scene. What's wrong? Song Xiao noticed her red eyes and asked in a low voice. Glancing at Chu Xia who was lying on the floor, Wang Jing kept her voice to a minimum, I'm so moved. Mother Qin is talking about Qin Mei's growth from childhood to adulthood. Song Xiao understood her mood and patted her shoulder comfortingly, indicating that she could lie down for a while. She herself leaned back on the chair and closed her eyes. Wang Jing was lying on the table, but she couldn't calm down. Scenes from childhood to adulthood flashed before her eyes, and her tears rolled down uncontrollably. Suddenly she felt a light poke on her shoulder. She raised her hazy tearful eyes and found Chu Xia standing at the table, looking at her with a worried look. Why are you up? Wang Jing whispered, did I wake you up? I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I'm not sleepy and can't sleep. I heard the conversation between you and the teacher. Chu Xia pointed outside, how about, go out and chat for a while. Wang Jing glanced at Song Xiao who closed her eyes to rest. Nodding, she stood up and walked out. Chu Xia put her clothes on Song Xiao and followed Wang Jing out. The moment the two of them went out, Song Xiao opened her eyes, sighed slightly, looked at the clothes covering her body, and a happy smile appeared on her lips. This little apprentice really got it right. At the same time, she was a little envious of her good friend Lin Yangkaiu. Having such a daughter-in-law was really worry-free and heartwarming. Xiaomi has really vicious eyes. She originally thought that marrying Chu Xia would not be helpful politically. However, it turns out that this child will be a descendant of the Lin family in the capital. Worldly things. It's really unpredictable. It was already past 10 o'clock in the evening, and there were not many people in the hallway. Chu Xia and Wang Jing simply sat on the chairs outside the office. The advantage of sitting here was that they could deal with the patient's problems as soon as possible. After the two of them sat side by side, Chu Xia pointed to her shoulder, "Let's lean on our shoulders for a while and cry. If we cry, we won't feel uncomfortable." Wang Jing stared at her, sighing, "Can you really not mind at all when I did that to you? Because I saw that you really realized your mistake. That's why I can do it without minding it. If you were pretending, I would definitely mind it. Of course, the most important thing is that no matter what you do to me, it does not cause substantial harm. Otherwise, how could I be so generous?" Wang Jing sighed again, and continued her words, "Yes, some damage can never be made up for. Fortunately, my mistake was not too outrageous." Chu Xia smiled at her and said nothing. "I just saw Qin's mother treating Qin Mei like that, and I was really envious. When I think about my mother leaving when I was so young, I can't control my emotions." After being quiet for a while, thinking about my aunt's care for me, I felt a little pretentious. However, the truth is clear, I still miss my mother. If you cannot raise a relative's child, you cannot be a stepmother. This sentence actually makes sense. Some closeness is defined by instinct and cannot be controlled by the heart. Even if your aunt treats you better than your mother treats you, you will still regret it and feel that your aunt does not love you as much as your mother. Maybe you will be able to figure it out after you become a mother, right? Wang Jing was amused by Chu Xia and laughed, "Looking at your serious look, I would have thought you were the child's mother if I didn't know. I'm not putting myself in someone else's shoes, just to comfort you." Chu Xia gave her a dissatisfied look, "I really don't understand good people's hearts. I won't sleep to accompany you to relieve your boredom, but you still laugh at me." Okay, I was wrong." Wang Jing shook her flatteringly, "but to be honest, I feel much better after you said that. I know that my regrets about my mother are mainly caused by my own imagination, or as you said, I can think about it after I become a mother. Yeah, compare what you do with what your aunt does, and you'll understand how happy you are. You really don't know how blessed you are despite all the blessings." Chu Xia rolled her eyes at her, "You know, most of my friends and classmates are biological parents. Think about it, how many biological parents care about their children as much as your aunt? I've already admitted my mistake, so don't hold on to her. By the way, why do you have such a good impression of my aunt?" Wang Jing looked at her curiously, "Did that Wang Lianliang say something?" "Look, are you overthinking it? I only found out about Wang Lianliang and your aunt today. I have told you all the conversations between him and me. Think about it for yourself and see which words will affect my relationship with you. Your aunt's impression? What's wrong with you?" Noticing that Wang Jing's face suddenly turned particularly ugly, Chu Xia poked her doubtfully, "No way, did what I said hurt your heart so much? It's that woman here. My stepmother." Wang Jing's words seemed to be squeezed out from between her teeth. Chu Xia glanced left and right in confusion and saw Wang Feng walking towards her in a hurry, followed by a man in his 40s. Woman and a young man about 20 years old. Since Wang Jing said her stepmother was here, she must be the woman in her 40s. Chu Xia moved her eyes to her and found that this woman was quite pretty, but the corners of her mouth were drooped and she looked grim. At this time, several people had arrived in front of them. Wang Feng smiled at Chu Xia in a flattering way, "Dr. Xiaolin, thank you for your hard work. I brought you food. Do you want to eat it now while it's hot?" "No need." Chu Xia smiled politely, "Our cafeteria has prepared late-night snacks." "Xiaozheng." The middle-aged woman smiled awkwardly at Chu Xia, then turned her attention to Wang Jing. Her cooing look made it difficult for Chu Xia to associate her with her fierce stepmother. "What are you doing here?" Wang Jing looked at her coldly, frowning. Your dad is not in good health. I heard from Xiaofeng that you are a doctor now. Can you take more care of your dad? The woman said and sighed heavily. I know that when I was young, I was very angry and was not very good to you. Now that I think about it, I regret it very much. No matter what, we are all a family. Your father can't do anything now, and your brother doesn't have a job. He just relies on the money I make to make matchboxes to support the family. Xiaojing, please help the family. Chu Xia looked at the woman with a dark look, and dared to come here in the middle of the night, just to find someone to help support the family, and she said it so confidently, it was really weird. Wang Feng quickly explained, Xiaojing, I came home and said I met you here. Second aunt insisted that I bring her here, so I brought her here because I had no other choice. Sister, you can't let me raise my father by myself. You were born by him, so you must fulfill your filial piety. The boy who had been standing aside suddenly spoke, but the words he spoke were as smooth as stones. Get out. Wang Jing looked at the two of them angrily. Get out of here, you have no right to ask me for anything. When I left that home, you said that I would have nothing to do with that home in this life. Why, now that I have the ability to make money, do you think of me? Let me tell you, even if the money I earn is thrown on the street, I won't spend it on you. You kid, if I'm really helpless, can I shamelessly come to beg you? The stepmother began to cry. Your dad won't let me come, saying he has no face to see you, but I really can't bear it. Well, if you don't help, I will have no choice but to take Xiaojun and leave that home. Are you threatening me? Wang Jing glanced at her funny. It's up to you, you can leave if you want. Your family's affairs have nothing to do with me. If you do this, I will go to your leader tomorrow. I don't believe it. No one will care about you yet. The smile on the woman's face faded little by little, and her whole person looked much gloomier. Go find me, do you think I'm afraid of you? By the way, I should tell you that the leaders of our hospital know my family's situation, so if you are willing to send me to your door for training, I have no objection. Mom, bring Dad over and put him in the hospital tomorrow. Let me see if she cares or not. After Wang Jun finished speaking, he turned around and walked out. Go home. The stepmother hesitated and followed her son out. What does she mean? Chu Xia looked at Wang Jing speechlessly. Why do you have to come here tonight? What do you want to say? My sister-in-law comes here during the day and she is afraid of bumping into each other, Wang Jing said. So that's it, isn't it? Back then, I pushed my stepdaughter out of the house, who could only eat but not earn anything. Now that I see that my stepdaughter can earn money, I want to pull her back. How in the world can I give her all the advantages? When did that man become paralyzed? I never heard from my sister-in-law, Wang Jing muttered to herself and frowned. Wang Feng quickly replied, last month, I was pushed down by Xiaojun. Wang Jing sighed and sat back in the chair with a lonely look on her face. Her mood became even worse. Chu Xia didn't know how to persuade her about this kind of thing, so he just sat there with her without saying a word. Wang Feng coughed uncomfortably and handed over the food box in his hand. These are the wontons I specially made, try them. No need, Chu Xia waved her hand, we have regulations. We cannot eat the meals brought by family members. We understand your kindness, but we cannot accept it. I'm sorry. Wang Feng's eyes showed disappointment. She didn't dare to persist any longer, for fear of offending Chu Xia. Wasn't it just to please Dr. Xiaolin that she rushed over? If it had the opposite effect, wouldn't she die unjustly? First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 499. The first update is here, and there is another update, which will be later. In the middle of the night, the pain in Qin Mei's wound was extremely severe. She had no choice but to fold a hot and wet towel for her to bite. Song Xiao came over and did a detailed examination. In terms of the post-operative data, it can be said to be very good. She held Qin Mei's hand and comforted, if you endure it for another 3 hours at most, you won't be like now it hurts so much. Thinking about how you will have a healthy baby in the future, do you think this pain is no big deal? Qin Mei was in so much pain that she couldn't speak at all. She looked at Song Xiao gratefully and nodded vigorously. The sweat on her forehead made her hair wet and stuck to her face, making her look miserable and embarrassed. The family members who were accompanying her on the bed could not help but sigh with emotion, she is so brave. My father yelled for half the night after the operation, but she could not say a word. She is so brave. Yes, I'm so embarrassed compared to this little comrade, the old man who was lying on the bed with an intravenous drip said embarrassedly, I understand this kind of pain better than anyone else. I really can't help it. Although shouting out can't solve anything, at that time I felt that shouting out would make me feel much better. The old lady on the other bed sighed, brother, you don't know. It was just one day after the operation. I was already feeling uncomfortable all over and very upset. After being called by you all night, my heart was completely blocked. A pile of cotton dumplings. The old man asked, by the way, you didn't scream on the night of the surgery. The old lady smiled sheepishly, I didn't shout, I took a painkiller injection. None of us are as strong as this girl. Our lives have been in vain. Yeah, I feel the same way now. She's so old, she's not as good as a little girl. Intensive care unit patients. They all needed intravenous infusions overnight, so when one opened his mouth, the others started chatting. Originally, because of the commotion made by Wang Feng and others, everyone was reluctant to talk to the Qin family, but now that they saw Qin Mei's be strong, and the ice and snow between us will quietly melt. Chu Xia listened. She was secretly amused. This was really a way of forcibly raising someone up and preventing them from coming down. At this moment, even if Qin Mei couldn't help it and wanted to scream, she was embarrassed. As for the painful needle, she didn't even have that awareness. At her level age, marriage and children are about to be put on the agenda. After listening to Song Xiao's words, it would be strange if he still dared to take pain injections. Wang Feng stood aside. After busying around but never getting to the point, Qin's mother couldn't help but issue an eviction order, Xiao Feng, you go home and rest. When your sister is almost recovered, you can take care of her again. The implication is, I don't believe you, you haven't been here these days. Wang Feng's face turned red. Between a rock and a hard place, of course she wanted to go back to sleep. But she promised Qin Sheng that she would have a good relationship with her eldest aunt. I hope to get as much care from my eldest aunt as possible in the future. If she leaves now, won't all this hard work be in vain? Although she didn't make the wontons, could the wontons made by her mother not be wontons? It was fine if Lin Chuxia refused. Why did her mother-in-law and Huang Li ignore it? Mom, you and sister Huang have some food. Wang Feng reluctantly handed the thermos bucket of wontons to her mother-in-law. I originally prepared them for Director Song and Dr. Xiaolin, but they said that the hospital has regulations. If you don't eat it, it will all be wasted. How long has it been and you are still thinking about this food? Qin's mother frowned and looked at her daughter-in-law, Xiao Feng, I really can't eat now. How can I have the time to eat when your sister is like this? You leave one portion for Comrade Huang, and take the other portion back to eat with Xiao Sheng. He's not a sick person, and he doesn't stay with him in bed, so how can he eat such good food? Wang Feng stood still, I'll just stay here. Mom will go to work tomorrow morning, and I'll pick her up. No, I've decided to ask for leave. Your sister can't be divorced at this time. You and Xiao Sheng are not married either. It's unfair to ask you to stay here with me. Go back. What Qin's mother said was very rude. Wang Feng's face turned blue and white. Just when he was about to turn around and leave, he glanced at Chu Xia and Wang Jing standing aside from the corner of his eyes. He suppressed his anger again and thought for a while. She simply found a bench and sat in the corner without saying a word or coming forward. Qin's mother sighed helplessly. How could she not understand what her former daughter-in-law meant, but now, her daughter was lying on the bed, what could she say? She told her that her daughter and Director Joe were not lovers and asked her to leave it alone? Well, if she really said that, Wang Feng would definitely drag her son into trouble as soon as possible and ask her to go to work. If her daughter is sick, she has to ask the company to send outsiders to take care of her. It really makes them look like parents. Is there light? In the past, she had always given in to her son in everything, which was why she got used to him like this. Qin's mother quietly wiped away her tears and turned her gaze to the void. She really couldn't bear to see her daughter's face that was deformed due to pain. Now is the most difficult time, and Chu Xia has been staying here with her. Normally, Wang Jing can go to bed, but because of the trouble caused by her stepmother, she couldn't sleep at all, so she simply stayed here with Chu Xia. Noticing Qin Mei's expression of trying to hold back and the blue veins popping up on her forehead, Chu Xia sighed, stepped forward to hold her hand, and gently massaged it. Sister Qin, if you really can't stand the pain, just hum. A few clicks, sometimes, can really distract you and make the pain feel less severe. Qin Mei shook her head stubbornly. The towel was soaked with blood from her bite. Chu Xia poked Qin's mother, who was in a daze. Auntie, help Sister Qin change a towel. Okay, Qin's mother responded, quickly washed another towel and brought it over to replace it with her daughter. After another 2 hours, Qin Mei's most painful time was finally over. Seeing her face gradually calming down, both Chu Xia and Wang Jing breathed a sigh of relief. At some point, a layer of sweat broke out on both of their backs, and as soon as they relaxed, they felt extremely cold. After giving Qin Ma and Huang Li a few words, they exited the ward. Zhou Mikang and Lin Wenbin were sitting outside, and when they saw them coming out, they both stood up. Why are you coming here again? Chu Xia looked at the two of them doubtfully. Didn't I agree that you are not allowed to come over again? Can we cooperate a little bit? Lin Wenbin rubbed her head. You little heartless child, we have been sitting outside for more than 2 hours. You just don't care for a moment, but you also lecture others. This is not good. It's not good for you to be like this. Chu Xia rolled her eyes at him. You said you would give me space, you promised to give me space, but then you go back on your word. It's not good at all. Okay, we were wrong, but the main reason is that it is your first time to participate in such a major operation. Anyway, tonight is a milestone for you. If you can't celebrate together, it's always okay to accompany you, right? Don't worry, if you participate in the operation again in the future, I won't come even if you beg me to come. Do you think I am idle? Let me tell you, I am so busy that I don't even have time to eat. How important are you to me, your brother? How about being so busy and still coming to accompany you every day? Do you think my brother treats you better than your bastard husband? Chu Xia looked at Zhou Mikang in confusion. Weren't we all close like brothers back then? Why are we arguing again and drinking so much now? Zhou Mikang snorted coldly. Whoever drank too much with him wanted to have a drink with me, but if he couldn't win, he cheated. I let him cheat. I don't know what he was dissatisfied with at the moment. I am your uncle, you have to take the initiative to let me go, rather than being passive, do you understand? Lin Wenbin stared at him with red eyes. Zhou Mikang, why do you turn your back as quickly as you turn the pages of a book? It's so boring. Can't we just accuse people unjustly? Zhou Mikang glanced at him with a headache. Didn't you get over the drunkenness just now? Why are you talking nonsense again now? I'd love you, are you still drunk? Chu Xia took a closer look at Lin Wenbin and found that he was indeed different from usual. She rubbed her forehead secretly. She would be annoyed if the two of them were together in the future. Who said I'm drunk? I'll be fine if I drink 2 more bottles. I just don't like your drinking capacity, Lin Wenbin said while punching Zhou Mixang. Asshole, who told you to drink so much? First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 500. Second update arrived. Lin Wenbin, who was not a good drinker, was dragged to Jingzhe's dormitory by Zhou Mikang and forced onto the bed. After covering him with a quilt, he was still muttering, "If you dare to treat my sister badly, I will beat you to death." Zhou Mikang shook his head funny and went to pour him a glass of boiling water. The 2 jars were poured back and forth. When the water temperature dropped, he poured it into Lin Wenbin. After knowing the other person's drinking capacity, I can no longer let him drink so much according to his temper. But speaking of it, this guy is quite perseverant. He can hold on for more than 2 hours until the early summer comes out. He just got drunk, which indirectly explained the position of Chu Xia in his psychology. Maybe the fate between people is so magical. He has 3 sisters, but he is the closest to Xiaoreo. Thinking of his little sister, his heart sank, and he quickly forced himself to stop his thoughts. On the other bed, Guji, who was asleep, sat up in a daze, looked at the people standing in the room, suddenly stood up straight, stood at attention and saluted, "Hello, Captain." Zhou Mikang returned the military salute and said helplessly, "Who are you trying to scare in the middle of the night? Hurry up and lie down to sleep." "Yes," Zhuliang responded and hurriedly lay down on the bed, but he was tossing and turning and couldn't fall asleep at all. Seeing how uncomfortable he looked, Zhou Mikang had no choice but to say, "Get up if you can't sleep." Yes, Guguo breathed a sigh of relief and sat up. Suddenly, his face turned red. "Regiment, Captain, I'm sorry, was my junior sister hurt by me?" Zhou Mikang didn't know what he had done before, so he looked at him doubtfully. "How could you hurt Chu Xia? What's going on?" As a result, he felt regretful and wanted to bite off his tongue. Why was he so tongue-tied? If the group leader knew about his previous behavior, would he skin him? Chu Xia was sitting at the table and taking a nap. I felt a tightness in my arms, and then her body flew into the air unconsciously, which frightened her so much that she suddenly woke up and found that she was being held in Zhou Mikang's arms and walking out. "What are you doing?" Chu Xia pinched him anxiously and secretly glanced in the direction of Song Xiao. Fortunately, the other party was lying on the table and squinting, not noticing their little movements at all. Zhou Mikang didn't say a word, and walked straight out of the office door with Chu Xia in his arms, and met 2 nurses. I was so shocked that I could hardly close my mouth. Yes, her reputation in the hospital was completely ruined by this man. Everyone knew that she was married, but as for who she married, not many people knew. The key is, the medical staff unanimously assumed that she was married to a farmer from the countryside, and deliberately did not mention it because they were afraid of hurting her heart. This is great. She was hugged and hugged by a soldier in front of the public. She really didn't know how it was going to be spread. Hey, it seems that it is impossible to hide her identity any longer, I thought so. She simply looked at Zhou Mikang openly and said, "Put me down." Zhou Mikang continued to move forward, not listening to her at all. Chu Xia frowned, "I will talk to you seriously about anything you have to say, now. Let me say hello to my colleagues. If you don't want me to divorce you, just listen to me." After a pause, Zhou Mikang put her on the ground. Coincidentally, the 2 nurses moved at a snail's pace to get in contact with the 2 of them. Chu Xia smiled at them and said, "Nurse Ma and Nurse Ji are on duty today." Yeah. Unexpectedly, Chu Xia would say hello. The 2 of them were stunned for a moment and quickly nodded in response. Chu Xia pointed to the sullen man next to her and introduced, "This is my husband Zhou Mikang." Then he introduced the 2 nurses to Zhou Mikang, These are my colleagues, Nurse Ma Yan, and Nurse Chi Ji. Although Ma Yan and Chi Ji did not know Zhou Mikang, he was wearing a military uniform, and it was also a military uniform with unusual texture, which naturally represented his identity. The two looked at each other suspiciously, a little at a loss. Fortunately, Zhou Mikang had already nodded to the two of them and walked forward on his own. Chu Xia waved to the two of them and quickly chased after them. Wang Jing and Ma Yan Kija came out of the toilet and bumped into each other. They quickly grabbed Wang Jing's arms and dragged her back to the toilet. "What are you doing?" Wang Jing looked at the two of them. "It's midnight, what are you doing? Let me ask you, do you know who the man your junior sister married is?" Yeah, you know what?" The two looked at her and asked. "I know." Wang Jing looked at the two of them suspiciously. "What's wrong? What does it have to do with you who you marry in early summer?" "It has nothing to do with us, but just now." Ma Yan vividly explained the scene she just saw in detail. Chu Xia followed Zhou Mikang to a secluded corner and looked at him with a frown. "What's wrong? How did I offend you?" "What do you think?" Zhou Mikang glared at her. "I will give you a chance now. Think about it quickly. What are you hiding from me? If you tell me now, I can forgive you once. Otherwise, don't blame me for talking. It doesn't count." "What are you hiding?" Chu Xia scratched her head, then scratched her head again, and then smiled in a flattering manner. "Are you awake?" Lin Chuxia. Okay, I was wrong." Chu Xia quickly raised her hand and promised, "I will never make similar mistakes again in the future. I am a doctor, not a pioneer. I should save people, but I will definitely hide myself first." "Absolutely, it's not worth it if you can't save the person and end up killing yourself, right?" "Really? What is it?" Zhou Mikang snorted coldly. "Who are you asking?" "Ask me, I'm asking and answering myself." Chu Xia tugged at his sleeves. "I know I was wrong. The teacher and Jing Zhe both trained me yesterday, and they also said that if I do this again, if it's wrong, I won't be allowed to be a doctor. Don't just make promises with your mouth." Zhou Mikang stared at her. "You must take it seriously from the heart." "Lin Chuxia, don't think I didn't say the ugly things first. If I find out about it again, you won't want to be a doctor. Now, don't even think about going to medical university. Isn't that too overbearing?" "What, you're still pretending to be a good person and a bad person?" Chu Xia quickly shook her head. "No. Since not, what are you afraid of?" Zhou Mixang looked at her calmly. "As long as you don't make mistakes, I won't deprive you of your right to become a doctor. What do you have to be afraid of? There is always a contingency for everything." Chu Xia said with a bitter face. "Let's be reasonable. Look, I didn't stipulate that you are not allowed to go forward but only backward when on the battlefield, right?" Zhou Mikang was so angry at her absurd reasoning that he laughed. "Is this the same thing? Doctors save people. In order to save more people, you must hide yourself first. Soldiers are meant to kill the enemy. If I, a general, retreat when I see danger, how can I lead my troops? You don't want me to become a laughing stock, do you?" "It's just a metaphor." Chu Xia sighed. Okay. I'll do as you say, but don't tell your parents about this, including my parents." "Do you think I'm stupid?" Zhou Mikang glared at her. "You're as skinny as a monkey, and you're still being used as a cushion for others. You're really brave." He. Chu Xia smiled sheepishly. "I was so anxious at the time, it was completely a conditioned reflex. But don't you think this shows that I am a kind person? Okay, let's go on duty. I'll go to Jing Zhe's place to have a look," Zhou Mixang said as he turned around and walked towards Jing Zhe's office. He didn't see Jing Zhe coming over all night, so he was a little curious. "After returning in early summer, I first went to the intensive care unit. Qin Mei had already fallen asleep and had been struggling all night. She was so tired and suddenly it still hurt. But it no longer affected her sleep. After checking the data of each instrument, Chu Xia smiled at Qin's mother, who looked at her worriedly. It's pretty good, don't worry. Thank you, Dr. Xiaolin. Mother Qin quickly thanked her. I know she must be fine, but that's how mothers are, they can't help but worry. Chu Xia smiled at her and said, you and Sister Huang should take turns to sleep for a while. Staying in bed is a long-term battle. If you tire yourself out, how can you take care of Sister Qin? Qin's mother nodded. I'm relieved now. I can take turns sleeping with Xiao Huang. Dr. Xiaolin, you must help us talk to Director Zhou. Xiao Huang is so responsible. With her here, we are really happy. Blessings for the two of you. This is my job, Auntie, please don't be polite to me, Huang Li said and handed the 2 sacks under the bed to Qin's mother. Auntie, just keep your eyes peeled for a while. You go to sleep first. Mother Qin pushed her hand away. You have been busy all night. You must be very tired. You go to bed first. I will ask you to get up for me later. Auntie, I'm young, so I'll be fine if I stay up a little longer. I used to work night shifts, so staying up late is a piece of cake for me. Seeing that Qin's mother wanted to push her back, Chu Xia smiled and said, you two are pushing back and forth like this. I don't think anyone needs to rest tonight. Aunt Qin, you go to bed first. No matter what, Sister Huang also a lot younger than you. Okay, I'll listen to Dr. Xiaolin. Mother Qin obediently took the sack and spread it on the open space to the right of the door. There is a small open space prepared for family members accompanying the bed. If the conditions are good, they will use a blanket to spread it. If the conditions are poor, just lay out sacks. Qin Mei slept until 5 o'clock in the morning when she woke up and found that Chu Xia was helping her adjust the drip speed, so she said gratefully, thank you. Her voice was completely hoarse and she made a hissing sound, not to mention others. She herself felt terribly uncomfortable listening to it. How does it feel? Chu Xia asked softly. Qin Mei shook her head and smiled again, indicating that she was fine. Your throat had to endure it too hard yesterday, so I protested to you, Chu Xia said, giving her a thumbs up. That's really good. Qin Mei laughed sheepishly. After thinking about it, she asked again, when you get better in the future, you won't always have a bit of a mute feeling, right? Where's my mother? When she found that only Chu Xia was with her in bed, Qin Mei wanted to turn her head to look, but Chu Xia quickly stopped her. Don't move. If the wound is pulled, you will suffer more. Your aunt should go to the work to ask for leave. Now, Sister Huang is going to fetch hot water for you and scrub it, so I'll just keep an eye here for a while. Thank you. Apart from these 2 words, Qin Mei didn't know what to say. Thinking about the first time they met and looking at herself now, she felt that she was really lucky. If she thought about it in other people's shoes that day, by the way, she would definitely not help the other person without any grudges. Chu Xia smiled at her. If you really want to thank me, just let yourself get better as soon as possible. Okay, Qin Mei responded happily, as if she would really get better quickly if she agreed. Sister, it's time to eat. The son of the old man in the next bed came in with a food box and poked the sleeping woman sitting by the bed. Sister, get up and eat. After you finish eating, go home and go to bed. The woman sat upright in a daze, and it took her a long time to come back to her senses. She looked at the intravenous drip bottle in panic, and found a full bottle of medicine dripping. Then she breathed a sigh of relief. I was scared to death. Just relying on you, I might have died several times. The old man curled his lips at her. Dr. Xiaolin has been keeping an eye on me. It was Dr. Xiaolin who rang the bell and asked the nurse to change the medicine every time. You slept there just like a dead pig. Go home and sleep. Dad, I heard that you are so angry that you seem to be recovering well, the man said as he turned to Chu Xia to thank him. Dr. Xiaolin, thank you very much. Chu Xia smiled and waved her hand. I'm a little tired of being alone in bed. It's just something I do conveniently, so there's no need to be so polite. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 501. It's my fault, thank you dear Xiaolin. The old man's daughter was very grateful for Chu Xia's generosity. She glanced at her and her brother's faces and immediately had an idea. When Chu Xia went out, she quietly followed him out. Is something wrong? Chu Xia looked back at her and asked with a puzzled look on her face. Dr. Xiaolin, although my brother is the youngest in the family, he is the most filial and caring. The woman who marries him will definitely be the happiest woman in the world. I can see that he is very filial and considerate. Chu Xia smiled at her. Your brother is here to sleep with you, so don't worry. Dr. Xiaolin, since you also think my brother is a nice person, how about you two try to talk? My husband is here. Chu Xia pointed at Zhou Mikang, who was coming towards him. This method was the most effective. The woman automatically stopped and opened her mouth. When she went to work on the second day in early summer, the woman wanted to hide when she saw her. She tried to help others without understanding the situation. It was so embarrassing. Sister Xing, don't you want to see me? Chu Xia joked with a smile. The woman who was hiding around the corner stopped her legs and smiled sheepishly. Dr. Xiaolin is here. I was too sleepy to see that it was you. Chu Xia didn't expose her, smiled and waved her hand. Go home and go to bed. Another person who felt uncomfortable seeing Chu Xia was the result. Chu Xia didn't go to work during the day yesterday. He was even very lucky, but today, it would be shameful not to show up. After much deliberation, he chose to come over to see Chu Xia during lunch. As a result, Luo Xiaoxian, Lu Meijun, and Wu Jingbo were all gathered here. I saw the lunch box in his hand. Luo Xiaoxian teased him, Senior Brother Cheng, please bring a lunch box. Who are you going to feed it to? Here. As a result, I just wanted to find a crack in the ground and crawl into it. If I had known it earlier. It would be great if he went to Chu Xia to thank him when he went to work. If he was misunderstood, would the team leader pull his head off? To whom? Luo Xiaoxian blinked. If you don't tell us, we will eat it. Guo breathed a sigh of relief and said smoothly, it's just for you guys to try. Fried small yellow croaker, scrambled eggs with green onions, and a portion of fried dried beans, a very rich lunch box. The food in the cafeteria is delicious. But getting tired of eating every day, Luo Xiaoxian handed each person a pair of chopsticks and moved his hands first without ceremony. Wu Jingbo knew what happened to Guguo the day before yesterday, so he naturally guessed Guguo's purpose. At this time, he knocked off Luo Xiaoxian's chopsticks. What's the hurry? If you want to eat, you must let Guguo's savior eat it first. What happened to Senior Brother Cheng? Neither Lu Meijun nor Luo Xiaoxian knew that Chu Xia had done something to support Guo the day before yesterday, so they stared at Wu Jingbo in surprise. As a result, he admitted with a grimace, I suddenly fainted the day before yesterday. I knocked Lin Chuxia down. Puff. Luo Xiaoxian and Lu Meijun burst into laughter. Chu Xia was sitting here well, so naturally he was not injured. They laughed without any psychological pressure. How unsympathetic. Chu Xia rolled her eyes at the two of them and looked at the result with a smile. Senior Brother Cheng. Although we have already eaten, your food is too tempting. So, in order to punish you, you gave me to me the day before yesterday. Smash it. Just go hungry. I have another one. This was specially made by my mother to thank you, Guguo said and quickly ran out. He was too stressed to stay here. She goes home every day in early summer, Lu Meijun goes back the next day, and Wu Jingbo goes back to her uncle's house once or twice a week. Therefore, Luo Xiaoxian is the one who is most in need of food and water. She eats the food in the cafeteria every day, and she feels like a bird is almost fading out of her mouth. Before anyone could use their chopsticks, she had already started tossing it into her stomach. The three people who originally picked up their chopsticks put down their chopsticks and watched her eat. After most of the food in the lunchbox was gone, Luo Xiaoxian wiped her mouth. "Why don't you eat?" "Eat, I can't finish it by myself." Several people. "Can you be more shameless?" In early summer, he decided that he would take Luo Xiaoxian home for dental rituals twice a week. It was not suitable to live in the Zhou family. He could live in the Wan family. Mr. Wan liked the excitement. "Here you go." When Wu Jingbo returned with the empty lunchbox and placed it in front of the result, he was in a daze, looked up at the other person, nodded unconsciously, and continued to wander. In the past, he always felt that Li Xiru had no common language when they were together, unlike when he was with Wu Jingbo, who could talk about everything. After getting together, he hoped more than once that Li Xiru would take the initiative to leave him and let him find his true love. Ordinarily, he should be happy that Li Xiru is gone like this, but why is he always feeling blocked? Even when I saw Wu Jingbo, I didn't feel the same as before. "Are you thinking about Sister Xiru?" Wu Jingbo asked. "Hey," Gu Guo turned his eyes and sighed heavily, "I don't know if I can see her again in this life. In fact, her intention to leave is quite clear. Why didn't I see it? If it weren't for me, their family wouldn't have left. I was the one who forced them away, Jingbo. I regret it now and want to stab myself to death. Don't be too impatient. Or, after a while, when she has settled down and calmed down, she will write to you. Will you?" Gu Guo looked at Wu Jingbo expectantly. "She really likes chatting with you. Are there any clues in the past chats?" Wu Jingbo tried her best to remember, and after a while, she shook her head, "No." As a result, his eyes darkened little by little, and he rested his head on the table and continued to be in a daze. Wu Jingbo could see what Gu Guan was thinking about her before, but looking at him now, it was obvious that he already knew who he really liked. This made her both happy and sad. He finally knew what he wanted. What kind of girl is she? But she can no longer find her partner. I hope lovers will eventually get married. "Junior sister, I have liked you," Gu Guo said suddenly. "I know." Wu Jingbo looked at him calmly, "but now I have determined that it is not true love. It is because you did not cherish what you have and got the wrong feeling. When Xiru and I were together, we had nothing in common, so I began to reject her more and more. I believe she had already felt it, but she didn't say anything. She always looked happy in front of me. She obeys me no matter what. My parents always said in front of me that she was not good enough for me. This idea took root in my heart little by little. I really felt that she was not good enough for me, and then I ignored her even more. But now, she has really left, but I endlessly recall every moment of my time with her, including when I was a child and when we reunited. I don't know if this is because of guilt or because I like her. Emotions are probably like this. They must be mixed with pain to reflect their preciousness." Wu Jingbo didn't know how to persuade the results, so he could only respond with silence. Qin Mei's wound healed extremely well, and she could already sit up halfway. Qin's mother went to work with peace of mind, leaving her daughter to the care of Huang Li and her daughter-in-law. "Sister, Director Zhou has never come to see you." During the day, Wang Feng stayed with her in bed. She couldn't suppress her curiosity, so she approached Qin Mei and asked in a low voice. "He is the leader, he is so busy, how can he have time to come over?" Qin Mei knew what Wang Feng was thinking, so she said helplessly, "How many times have I told you, Director Zhou and I are just superiors and subordinates, there is no difference." "Of Sister, what are you sorry for? If Director Zhou is not interested in my sister, how can he arrange for someone to take care of her?" Wang Feng lowered her voice mysteriously, Is he afraid that he will have to listen to my sister after getting married, so he is deliberately neglecting her now? Sister. It really didn't make sense to her, so Qin Mei closed her eyes and ignored her. Wang Feng was sitting next to the bed next to him. The man who was sleeping with the old man couldn't help but not hear the conversation between the two. He took a look at Qin Mei's slightly pale face and couldn't help but sigh. After staying with him for a few days, he roughly figured out Qin Mei's situation. He felt that it was really pitiful for Qin Mei to have such a younger brother. I really miss Cao. When Cao arrived, Qin Sheng entered the ward carelessly and smiled at Qin Mei. Sister, do you want me to go and invite your brother-in-law? Xiao Sheng, Qin Mei glared at him, you are not allowed to mess around. How many times have I told you that Director Zhou and I have nothing to do with each other? Why can't you two listen? Are you so afraid that I will take advantage of you? Qin Sheng rolled his eyes and looked at Wang Feng. I'm hungry, go home and cook me lunch. Okay, Wang Feng was eager to leave quickly, so she happily agreed and got up and walked out. Qin Sheng walked out without even looking at Qin Mei. I don't need to stay with you in bed anymore, Wang Feng asked happily. No need, it's all for nothing, Qin Sheng snorted coldly. Your sister-in-law is also a person. How old is she? She still robbed my brother-in-law. What do you mean? Wang Feng looked at Qin Sheng blankly. What do you mean by this? What do you mean? Qin Sheng couldn't help rolling his eyes again. When I was eating at lunch, I saw your sister-in-law and Zhou Shanping. You mean? Wang Feng's eyes widened. My sister-in-law and Zhou Shanping are in a relationship. Yeah, I was curious and sat behind them. The two of them were discussing how to express their relationship with their families. You're not fooling around, are you? Qin Sheng chuckled. If it were anyone else, I might be confused. Your sister-in-law is my sister-in-law. It doesn't matter whether she is my brother-in-law or my brother-in-law. You mean, you're going to live with me at my house? Wang Feng looked at him with surprise. You agreed to get married? Did you agree that the children we have in the future will be named Wang? Don't lie to me. I will take it seriously. Why did I lie to you? Qin Sheng put his arm around her shoulders and walked out. My old man and old lady all care about my sister. It's not like I didn't see it. With my family's poor conditions, what's the point of staying here? Let's go. Let's go get remarried now. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 502. Seeing her brother and soon-to-be sister-in-law leave without any pressure, Qin Mei closed her eyes in pain. Are these also relatives? Is it a relative who is related to her by blood? There was a 4-year age difference between her and Qin Sheng, so her parents locked her and her brother at home while they were at work and asked her to take care of her brother. At first, she felt that her brother was a burden, but gradually, her brother could crawl, smile at her, and talk. She gradually regarded taking care of him as her responsibility. She didn't go to elementary school until she was 8 years old. However, there were many children in her class who went to elementary school only when they were years old. Some of them were because their families were poor, and some of them had to take care of younger siblings like her. Others were unwilling to go home after school, but after school she would rush home as soon as the bell rang. She felt that it was pitiful for her brother to be locked at home and bored all day long, so she had to go back earlier to accompany him. Until Qin Sheng went to elementary school, the relationship between the siblings was still very good. In fact, Qin Sheng's relationship with her was closer than that with his parents. Qin Sheng's change occurred at the age of 14. He gradually developed an Adam's apple, a fluffy beard, and his voice began to get thicker. Then, he no longer wanted to play with her or get close to her. At first, she didn't adapt. Later, she felt that it was the rebellion of adolescence, or that when he became an adult, the relationship between the two would become close again. Unfortunately, everything didn't go as she wished. My brother is in love. My brother is married. Then, her brother began to feel like she was an eyesore living at home. Later, my brother got divorced. The younger brother no longer cares about anyone or anything in the family, and is only immersed in his own emotions, waiting for him to finally come out. But he likes to question and blame others even more. He also blamed her for the failure of his marriage, thinking it was because of her existence. That was why he and Wang Feng had so many conflicts and their marriage came to an end. But now, it's obvious that his brother doesn't even care about her life or death. If she never paid, she had no right to blame, but... Tears rolled down the corners of his eyes. He was in his 30s, homeless and jobless. With no relatives or friends, she felt that her life was a failure. Suddenly there was a soft touch in her hand. The moment she opened her eyes, an honest voice sounded, "Whenever you need me, tell me and I will do it for you. If I can't do it, I will help you convey it." The speaker was the son of the old man in the next bed. She had a clean handkerchief in her hand, smiled gratefully at the other person, said thank you weakly, and closed her eyes again. It's not that she's rude. I don't know how to face it, everything is nakedly placed in front of others. What could she say? The man looked at her and poured her a glass of boiling water to cool down. After thinking for a while, he got up and went to Song Xiao's office. Song Xiao has an operation. Wang Jing also went with her. Chu Xia was the only one in the office. When she saw him entering, Chu Xia got up in confusion. What's wrong? The old man was Director Wang's patient, so he came over, and Chu Xia was naturally puzzled. Hello, Dr. Xiaolin. I thought the man's sister had mentioned to him about chasing Chu Xia, and to say hello, his face had turned red. Hello. Chu Xia nodded and continued to look at him with doubtful eyes, waiting for his answer. After calming down, the man said, Comrade Qin's family has left, and now she has no patience to take care of her. There are some things I can help with, but there are some things that, as a man, it is not easy for me to help. Leaved, Chu Xia frowned. You mean Wang Feng left the hospital? Yes, her husband came to find her and left with her. Now Comrade Qin no longer takes care of her. I saw her crying there, and she seemed very uncomfortable. Thank you, Chu Xia said and walked to the intensive care unit. It had only been more than 3 days and the wound had not healed yet. She was afraid that Qin Mei's excitement would aggravate her condition. Fortunately, Qin Mei just lay there quietly and her mood was not too intense. If you didn't pay attention to the tears in the corners of her eyes, you would have thought she fell asleep. After looking at her for a few times, Chu Xia quietly withdrew and waved to the old man's son. The old man was so happy that he even sang a tune while lying on the hospital bed. The old man's son was called Yu Jinfu. He was following Chu Xia with a red face, like a newly married daughter-in-law. The little nurse passing by the two couldn't help but smile, and Yu Jinfu's face became even redder. Already. Of course, Chu Xia noticed Yu Jinfu's discomfort, but this was not the time to pay attention to the mess. When she entered the office, she looked at Yu Jinfu with a serious face. Brother Yu, I'm sorry, I came to you because I wanted to. Can you tell me the details? Yu Jinfu recited the conversation between Wang Feng and Qin Mei, as well as the detailed process after Qin Sheng arrived. Probably because he was afraid that Chu Xia would think it was immoral for him to eavesdrop, he also explained that he didn't do it intentionally. He was really too close, and the other person didn't lower his voice too low, so he couldn't even hear it if he didn't want to. Chu Xia smiled and waved to him. Brother Yu, I understand. Thank you so much for today's matter. Do you think this is okay? Before Sister Qin comes with me, please help me if you have anything to do. It's inconvenient. Just come and call me, okay? Yu Jinfu nodded repeatedly. Okay, okay, that's what I originally planned. Dong dong. When Chu Xia turned around, she saw the regiment leader Tongzi standing at the door with an expressionless face, so he grinned, "Why are you here now? It is now 2 o'clock in the afternoon." Zhou Mikang was supposed to leave yesterday, but there was an impromptu meeting that he was required to attend, so he postponed it for 2 more days and will leave tomorrow afternoon. "The meeting is over. I have nothing to do, so I came over to take a look. I have something to tell you, by the way. My third uncle is getting married." "Third uncle is getting married?" Chu Xia's eyes suddenly widened. "He told you personally? With whom? Do you think I'm the kind of person who likes to spread rumors?" Zhou Mikang said, sitting at her table. "If you have anything to do, go and get busy. I'll wait for you to pick up your third uncle after get off work. Tonight, your third aunt is going to go to us eat at home." "Really, really?" Chu Xia looked at him dumbfounded, feeling that the world was so crazy that sows were sleeping on the bed. "I don't know the specifics. He didn't say who the third aunt was. He just said that we knew each other. I thought about it, but I couldn't figure out which one it was." "Forget it, we'll know each other when we meet." Zhou Mikang, as he spoke, he shook his head. Apparently, he was also shocked to death by the news. "You wouldn't?" At this point, Chu Xia suddenly realized that there was an outsider in the room. It was too rude for her to do this, so she smiled at Yu Jinfu. "Brother Yu, this is my husband Zhou Mikang." Turning to look at Zhou Mikang, Qin Mei's younger brother came to take his younger siblings away. "Now I don't have anyone sleeping with me. It was brother Yu who kindly came over and told me." "Hello. Hello." The two men greeted each other in a friendly manner and were relatively speechless. "Dr. Xiaolin, I'm going back to the ward first." Yu Jinfu smiled sheepishly at Chu Xia and Zhou Mixang, and backed out softly. A tall man of 1.8 meters, strong, and walking like a cat, Zhou Mikang raised the corners of his mouth. After the other party closed the door for a long time, he smiled and leaned into Chu Xia's ear, "While I'm not here, don't mess with other men." "Tch," Chu Xia rolled her eyes at him, "you are thinking too much. His sister once thought about introducing me to him, but she gave up the idea when she found out that I was married. However, after all, there was such a thing, and he felt a little uncomfortable when he saw me. I'm sorry, not because I like me, but because of that matter, understand?" "What did you say?" Zhou Mikang pulled Chu Xia into his arms. "Why didn't I know what happened?" "Don't make trouble." Chu Xia squeezed his hand hard. "Let me go. If someone comes in and sees what I'm like, will you let me stay here? Will you let me see people? The door is closed. If someone comes in, they will knock on the door. No, I'm going to open the door." "You see," Yu Jinfu misunderstood just now. "Otherwise, why would he close the door?" Chu Xia said while struggling hard. "If you make trouble again, I will fall out." Zhou Mikang let go of her and joked with a smile, "I'm leaving tomorrow, can't you show a little bit of reluctance?" "You can't show it here," Chu Xia muttered and opened the door. Sure enough, several young nurses were looking over here. Seeing her appear at the door, they quickly left in a busy manner. She turned back and glared at Zhou Mi. "Kong, you killed me. By the way, I was just planning to call third uncle and ask him to send someone to take care of sister Qin, but now, why do I feel that it is not appropriate for him to find someone?" "What's inappropriate about that? He only helped Qin Mei because of work." "You're busy with work, so I'll call him," Zhou Mikang said and sat down at Song Xiao's table, picked up the phone and dialed. Zhou Shanping was very fast. It was 2:10 in the afternoon when Zhou Mikang called, and he came to the hospital with a neatly dressed woman at 3 o'clock. "This is Liang Hongji," and after the two sides greeted each other, Zhou Shanping introduced the woman to Chu Xia and told the woman, "This is my niece-in-law. If you have anything to do, go to her directly and she will tell me." "Yes, Director." Liang Hongjian smiled respectfully at Chu Xia. "Dr. Lin, I'm causing trouble for you. Where is this going? Chusia smiled at her, don't be so polite. What the third uncle means is that you don't go to work at work. I'm just a messenger. Liang Hongjian said quickly, you are too polite. Liang Hongjian's words were more polite than Huang Li's, but the feeling was not very comfortable. It felt a little too fake. She was so excited that Chusia broke out in a cold sweat. She couldn't be the marriage partner of her third uncle, right? If true, then the third uncle's vision is really weird. I will update these today, and I will update more tomorrow. It means that I must work hard to update tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. All perfect attendance is gone. If the half-year bonus is gone, am I just a standard second-rate person?